It was a hot summer afternoon, the kind of day that weighed heavy in the air. Kiana sat across from her dad, her heart pounding as she spoke the words she had been holding back for so long. They were in the living room of their small apartment, the smell of fresh food drifting from the kitchen, but all Kiana could focus on was the tension between them. She could feel the eyes of the world on her, though no one else was around. It was just her and him. "I know one day I'm going to be somebody," she said, her voice trembling but strong. Her dad, sitting on the couch with his worn-out work boots still on, glanced up from the paper he was reading. He didn't speak right away. Kiana could feel the weight of his silence, but she didn't back down. This was it. This was the moment. "Please, look at my face," she added, leaning forward, eyes locked on his. "You're somebody now." Her dad didn't reply, but there was something in his eyes that told her he understood. Maybe not fully, but he saw the fire in her. He always had. Still, his doubts always crept up, like a shadow he couldn't shake. "Yeah," Kiana's voice softened. "I know," but she didn't finish. He was already shaking his head, like he had heard it all before. "The game isn't easy, Kiana. You think you can just work hard and everything will come to you?" he asked, his voice low, rough from years of hard work. Kiana's fingers gripped the edge of the couch, her nails digging into the fabric. "No, I don't think that. I think it's time I stop letting fear hold me back." Her dad gave a little chuckle, one that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Fear? You think that's what's stopping you?" Kiana was ready. She had prepared for this moment in her mind over and over. She wasn't going to back down, not this time. She had to make him see. "I'm not afraid of the work, Dad. I'm not afraid of the grind. What I'm afraid of is staying in this place, staying stuck. You said we all ask why. Why work this hard? Why take all those classes? Why push so much? Why take those notes?" Her dad raised an eyebrow, waiting for her to continue. "Why? Because why not? Why not see how far I can go? How many books I can read? How many classes I can take? Why not see how much I can change my life? Why not me?" There was a long pause as Kiana looked at her dad, eyes full of determination. She could feel the weight of the world on her shoulders, but this time, it didn't matter. It didn't matter what her dad thought or what anyone else thought. Her dad shifted in his seat, rubbing his face. Kiana knew he was thinking about all the struggles he had been through, the ones he never talked about. She understood that. She understood the fear. But right now, she couldn't stay afraid anymore. "Why not you?" Kiana repeated, this time with more conviction. "Why not me, Dad? I have everything I need. I just need to believe that I can do it." Her dad exhaled deeply. There was something in his face now, something different, like he was seeing her in a new light. But just as quickly as that look came, it was gone. He sighed and stood up. "You've got a long road ahead of you, Kiana. But if you really believe in this, then go for it." She smiled softly, relieved, but knew this was just the beginning. The next step, the next challenge, the next hurdle, would be even harder. But for the first time in her life, Kiana felt like she could face it all. But then, just as she thought the conversation was over, her dad spoke again, his voice quieter. "Remember this. If you're going to make something of yourself, you better be prepared to give it everything." Everything. Kiana nodded, her heart racing. This was it, the moment she had been waiting for. And even though the road ahead was uncertain, she felt a fire spark inside her. This was just the start of something much bigger. As Kiana stood up to leave the room, she asked one last question, her voice firm. "Why not me?" And with that, she walked out, determined to start her journey, no matter what. Hanger. Kiana's decision had been made. But was she really ready to face the challenges ahead? Would the world let her succeed, or would it knock her down just as fast as she had risen? The question was no longer why not her. The real question was, how far would she really go? Kiana woke up early the next morning. The sun had just started coming up, but she had been awake for a while, her thoughts racing from the night before. She had made a decision. Now it was time to act. Why not me? The question kept going around in her mind. She jumped out of bed, her feet hitting the cool floor. It was time to make a change. But even though she was excited, there was a part of her that still wasn't sure. Was she ready for everything she had promised herself? She walked down the street to her first class. The neighborhood looked the same as always. The cracked sidewalks and old buildings made her feel small, like her dreams might be too big for a place like this. She had always wanted more, but now it felt like the real work was starting. The doubts tried to creep in, but she pushed them aside. Why not me? Kiana knew her first challenge was to see herself differently. She had to stop being the person who just accepted what came to her. She had to be the one who reached for more, who went after what she wanted. She had to become the person she had always dreamed of being. Her dad had always told her, "You better be prepared to give it everything." She wasn't sure what everything meant, but it was clear she couldn't back out now. She arrived at her first class, a business course she had signed up for. Kiana had always been more into fashion and creativity, but her dad had insisted she needed something practical, something that could help her make a living. Business was that something. She sat in the back of the classroom, feeling out of place. The room was full of students who seemed like they already knew everything about business. Kiana felt like she was just getting started, like she had so much to learn. She wasn't sure if she belonged, but she wouldn't let that stop her. Why not me? She pulled out her notebook and started writing down her ideas. She imagined creating her own clothing line, opening a boutique, and making something that wasn't just a dream. She imagined a life where she wasn't just following others, but leading them. But as she wrote, she couldn't help but think about her dad's words. It wasn't just about dreaming. It was about making it real. She had to do the work, even when it felt like too much. And what if it didn't work out? What if she failed? Her phone pinged with a text from her dad. "Don't forget to make your moves today. Keep pushing." Kiana smiled to herself. That was all she needed to hear. Every little step mattered. She couldn't give up. After class, she went to the library and started reading more about business and finance. At first, it was hard to concentrate. Her mind kept asking if she was really ready for this. But the more she read, the more she felt like she could do it. If other people could succeed, so could she. And she wasn't going to let fear stop her anymore. She spent the afternoon reaching out to local designers and small business owners. She asked questions, made new connections, and felt more sure of herself with each conversation. By the time evening came, she had a list of people to contact and a plan starting to form. When she got home that night, her dad was sitting at the kitchen table, his face a little more serious than usual. "How was your day?" he asked, his voice quieter than usual. "Busy. Productive," Kiana said, feeling proud. "I'm starting to figure it out." He nodded slowly but didn't say anything for a moment. Kiana felt her heart beat faster. Was he proud of her? Was he worried? Finally, he spoke. "You sure this is what you want?" he asked. "I mean, you know it's not going to be easy." Kiana stood a little taller, her voice steady. "I'm ready to give it everything, Dad. I'm not stopping now." He didn't say much more. He just stood up, walked over to her, and put a hand on her shoulder. "You've got everything you need. Just keep going." Kiana smiled. It wasn't much, but it was enough. She knew her journey wasn't going to be easy, but for the first time, she felt ready. She wasn't going to let anything hold her back. The next morning, Kiana checked her email. One of the designers she had reached out to had responded, but as she opened the email, her stomach dropped. Was this a hint she had been waiting for, or a setback?
Kiana's heart raced as she clicked on the email from the designer. Her fingers hovered over the screen as the message loaded. She had been waiting for this moment, praying that it was the opportunity she had been hoping for. The email opened, and her eyes scanned the words quickly. She felt the blood rush to her head as she read, "We've received your inquiry, and would like to meet in person to discuss potential collaboration opportunities." Kiana's breath caught in her throat. She had done it. She had made contact, and now she had a chance to make something real happen. The feeling of hope mixed with fear. What if she messed this up? What if she wasn't good enough? She stared at the screen, her thoughts racing. This was it. This could be the big break she needed. She had worked so hard to get here, but now she had to prove she was ready. She quickly typed a response, arranging the meeting for the following day. The next morning, Kiana prepared herself. She picked out her best outfit, the one she wore to interviews and important meetings, but today it felt different. She wasn't just showing up to ask for something. She was showing up to take her first real step toward her future. As she stood in front of the mirror, she asked herself again, why not me? She took a deep breath, determined to step into this room with confidence. The meeting was at a small, modern office downtown. Kiana walked in, her heart pounding in her chest. She was greeted by a well-dressed woman named Vanessa, who introduced herself and led Kiana to a sleek conference table. The room was filled with design sketches and mood boards, all of them glowing with potential. Vanessa didn't waste time. "I've looked over your work, and I'm impressed with your vision. We could use someone with your creativity. But I need to know, how serious are you about this?" Kiana's palms were sweaty, but she smiled. "I'm serious. This is what I want. I've spent so much time thinking about it. I'm ready to put in the work. Vanessa nodded slowly, studying her for a moment. You're not the only one with dreams, Kiana. We are all looking for the next big thing. But here's the thing. What will set you apart is your ability to follow through. It's easy to dream, but much harder to make those dreams a reality. Kiana felt the weight of Vanessa's words, but she wasn't about to back down. She knew what this meant. She had spent so long just hoping, waiting for an opportunity. This was a moment to show she had the determination to back up her dreams. I know it won't be easy, Kiana said, her voice steady, but I'm ready for the challenge. Vanessa leaned back in a chair, eyeing her carefully. All right. I'm willing to give you a shot. Let's see what you can do. The words hit Kiana like a wave. She had made it. But this was just the beginning. She had a lot of work ahead of her, and she knew the real challenge would come when things got hard. But for the first time, Kiana felt like she was in control of her destiny. She had stepped out of the shadows, and now she was stepping into the light. As the meeting ended, Kiana shook hands with Vanessa, leaving the office feeling like she had just crossed a bridge into her future. She walked out into the busy streets of downtown, the city humming with energy. The world felt different now. She felt different. But as she checked her phone for the time, her heart skipped a beat. There was another message, this one from her dad. It simply read, "Proud of you, Kiana. Now, make it count." Kiana smiled, a sense of calm washing over her. She was just getting started. The road ahead would be tough, but she wasn't backing down. She had a plan, she had a purpose, and now she had a chance to prove it to the world. The next morning, Kiana received a call from Vanessa with an unexpected request. We'd like to meet again, but we need something more from you first. We need you to prove your worth with a real project. Are you up for it?
The next morning, Kiana's phone rang. It was Vanessa. Her voice sounded serious but calm. Good morning, Kiana. I've been thinking. Before we move forward, I want to see how you handle pressure. I need you to work on a small project. Something that shows me what you can do. Kiana froze for a second. Her hands started shaking. What kind of project? She asked carefully. I want you to design something original. Something that represents you, your story, your journey. It has to speak to people. You have 3 days, Vanessa said. Then the line went silent. 3 days. Kiana sat on her bed, her mind blank. It felt like the walls were closing in. This was her shot, her chance to prove she was worth it. But 3 days? How could she do something meaningful in that time? She took a deep breath and whispered to herself, why not me? That afternoon, she went to a small shop downtown that sold fabric. The owner, Mrs. Harris, smiled when she saw Kiana walk in. You again, she said warmly. You look like you're on a mission today. I am, Kiana said, running her fingers over the rolls of fabric. I have to design something that shows who I am. Mrs. Harris nodded slowly. Then don't think too much. Just feel it. Pick the one that speaks to you. Kiana closed her eyes and ran her hand across the fabrics until she stopped on one. A soft, deep brown material with golden threads running through it. It reminded her of her mother's old Sunday dress. It reminded her of home. This one, she said softly. She worked through the night, sketching designs, cutting pieces, stitching with shaky hands. Her room turned into a small workshop, cloth everywhere, thread on the floor, her notebook full of ideas. She was tired, but she didn't stop. Her father checked on her once, saw the fire in her eyes, and didn't say a word. He just nodded and left her to work. By the 3rd day, Kiana's eyes were red from lack of sleep, but she finally stood back and looked at her finished design, a dress that told her story. The top was strong and simple, symbolizing her past and the hard work that shaped her. The bottom flowed with soft folds of gold, symbolizing her hope and future. It wasn't just a design, it was her life sewn into fabric. When she arrived at Vanessa's office, her heart was beating fast. She handed over the design with shaking hands. Vanessa looked at it in silence, then touched the fabric gently. Tell me what this means. Kiana swallowed hard. It's about believing you're enough. It's about not letting where you come from limit where you can go. It's about asking yourself, why not me? And actually answering it. Vanessa looked up at her, eyes unreadable. The silence stretched on, and Kiana could hear her own heartbeat. Finally, Vanessa stood up and smiled slightly. You've got something special, Kiana. This is what I wanted to see. You've got the heart for it. Kiana let out a shaky breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. Relief washed over her like a wave. She had done it. She had proved herself. As she walked out of the building, her phone buzzed. It was her dad again. "Proud of you." That was all it said, but it was enough to make her eyes fill with tears. She had started this journey with doubt. Now she was walking with purpose. That night, as Kiana sat on her bed feeling proud and thankful, she got another message from Vanessa. "We retaking your design to the city showcase next month. Get ready. It's going to change everything." Kiana stared at the message, stunned. This was it. But was she ready for the world to see her story? The day of the city showcase arrived faster than Kiana had expected. Her stomach churned with excitement and nerves as she stood backstage, watching the crowd gather. The buzz in the air was thick with anticipation, and Kiana couldn't help but feel a bit out of place among the seasoned designers and fashion lovers who filled the venue. But as she stood there, staring at the people filing in, she reminded herself of the one thing she had learned. Why not me? She clutched the dress she had designed, carefully packed in a garment bag. It was the same design she had created with nothing but passion and sleepless nights. It was her story, her soul, woven into fabric. She could hardly believe she was about to show it to the world. Her phone buzzed. A message from Vanessa. "You've got this, Kiana. Don't doubt yourself. Your story will shine." Kiana smiled and nodded, taking a deep breath. Vanessa had been right all along. This wasn't just about a dress. It was about showing up for herself, showing up for everything she believed in, showing up for the woman she was becoming. The moment came. The lights dimmed, and one by one, the models strutted down the runway, each wearing a piece from a different designer. The applause and cheers filled the room, but Kiana's nerves were still there, tightly wound inside her chest. When the spotlight turned to her, she could barely breathe. Her model walked onto the runway, her confidence lighting up the space. She wore Kiana's dress, the fabric flowing behind her, catching the light. The top, simple yet strong, mirrored Kiana's past struggles. The bottom, golden and soft, shimmered in the light, representing her future, her hopes, her dreams. Kiana watched from the sidelines, her hands clenched in front of her, eyes wide. This was it. She was being seen. She was being heard. And it was everything she had hoped for. She could feel the audience's eyes on her, on the dress, on the story she had woven. When the model reached the end of the runway and turned to walk back, the room erupted in applause. Kiana felt a lump in her throat. Her heart raced, but it was a feeling of joy, not fear. She had done it. She had shown the world exactly who she was. After the show, people gathered around her. Designers, entrepreneurs, and fashion lovers all complimented her work, asking for her business card, offering advice, even talking about future collaborations. Kiana could barely process it all, but one thing was clear. This was just the beginning. She stepped outside for a moment of quiet, feeling the cold air on her skin, grounding herself in the reality of what had just happened. Her dad called just as she stepped out of the building. "Kiana," he said, his voice full of pride. "You did it. I knew you could." She closed her eyes, feeling a wave of emotion rush over her. "Thank you, Dad. This is just the start. I'm not stopping now." As the night went on, the offers kept coming, but Kiana's mind was already thinking about the next step. She had proved she could do this. She had taken that first leap, and now she wasn't turning back. She had found her voice. She had found her purpose. And as she looked out at the bustling city, Kiana knew that her journey was only beginning. She had started with nothing but a dream, and now she was ready to turn it into a reality. Kiana's story wasn't just about one dress or one moment of success. It was about every step she took, every challenge she overcame, and every "why not me" that she answered. It was the start of a new chapter, one where she was no longer afraid to rise, no longer afraid to claim her place in the world.
As we come to the end of Kiana's journey, ask yourself, what dreams have you been putting off because of fear? What if, instead of asking, "Why not me?" you started answering it with the confidence Kiana found in herself? Think about it. What's holding you back from chasing your true potential? Is it the doubts you've carried for years? Is it the fear of failure or the fear of being judged? Kiana had to push through all of that to step into her greatness, and so can you. But here's the thing, no one else can do it for you. You have to take action. You have to be willing to fight for your dreams, just like Kiana did. So ask yourself, what's your next step? What can you do today to start working towards the life you've always wanted? You're capable of more than you know, and I believe you can be the person who changes everything. So take this moment to reflect. Why not you? Why not now? If this story inspired you, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because there are plenty more powerful, motivational stories coming your way. Stories that will push you to be your best, to step up and to embrace the journey toward your greatest self. Stay tuned for the next one. Thank you for watching. Keep pushing, keep growing, and remember, the world is waiting for you to rise.